Oh, oh, hello, hello, hello. Guess what? It's another Saturday, which means another surprise stream here on the Hang Bros channel. Yep, and guess who's the host again on a Saturday? Me, Chichin. Yeah, I love Saturdays. I finally get to take a break, hang out a bit. But this week has been, let's just say, weird, because yeah, Moshi's not feeling too good, not tip top shape, and we've been kind of struggling with that in terms of the whole family situation, which is a little scary in its own right. If you didn't know, coronavirus is no joke, so take it seriously and be careful, otherwise you're gonna end up like Moshi. Luckily, us being the good entrepreneurs that we are, we're taking precautions and everything, and over the virtual world it's okay for us to meet. So he's not feeling tip-top shape, but he'll be here, and we get to do some excellent Final Fantasy XIV discussion, which I think is well-deserved on this channel. That's kind of been, I think, the big topic that seems to gain some traction in our previous videos and everything. But yeah, I've made no secret about it before that we love Final Fantasy XIV, and we have a whole slew of different things we could just talk about and discuss, so I feel like it'd be fun to have Moshi and I just kind of sit down and get the juices flowing of that whole informational pathway. But we also have a special guest today. I think it's also not a secret, but KB, good old KB will be joining us as a different pair of eyes and perspective on the whole game, because as we were talking about before in our previous Dad of Light screening, Moshi and I have been MMO nerds for a while through World of Warcraft, but KB is a brand new player, kind of dipping her little toes in there from a different beginning. So we'll get to see what she says, and we'll kind of talk about Final Fantasy. I feel like it'd be fun just to really just pour our hearts out about this game that we love, right? And yeah, so without further ado, let's just jump on over there, because I don't want to be sitting in my stinky room. Here we go. Oh, hello, you two. Hello. Yeah.
Jeez.
Of course.
No, but for real, wash your hands. Stay safe, guys. This shit sucks.
Yeah, no.
Don't go outside.
Yeah, never leave your house.
Really,
never again.
It's really apt that you two are over there and then I'm over here. So this is like true social distancing going on right now.
Exactly. So that's the point. We take good care of our guests, and we want to make sure that they're as healthy and as strong as possible. Hardy. Wait, what do they say in Final Fantasy? Hail and hardy.
That's it. Yeah.
Hardy,
Yeah. There it is. There it is. Yeah, but I think before we actually jump into this like discussion, going from some real topics, let's like Moshi, how do you feel? Like, were you okay?
The last week has been a living nightmare, honestly. I had a fever for like 3 days, and then it died down for like 1 day. And now I feel it starting to pick up again, so it sucks really bad. I've had body aches, a headache, sore throat. I mean, it doesn't sound like I'm sick because I'm trying really hard to not sound like I'm sick. But yeah, I feel really bad, guys. Never leaving the house again. Ever again. Fuck this shit.
That's what happens. Yeah, when you label yourself a meat, oh, dude, make you keep your face in that mask.
No, keep your mask on.
Yeah, keep your mask on. Yeah, dude, but when you label yourself a NEET, you got to stick to the bit, dude. Otherwise, see, you get coronavirus if you leave the house.
I know, dude. Sheesh, man. The one time I leave my house, dude. Sheesh.
He just wanted some fresh air, and all he got was coronavirus.
Right? There's nothing good on the outside. That's what I'm saying. Dude. Nothing good on the outside.
Mostly don't join us.
Yeah.
It really do be like that today, guys. But yeah, I'm in the process of recovering. Hopefully I'll be better soon so that I can return back to my normal streaming schedule and be there for you guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. But this stream isn't about me, right? It's not about me. What is this stream about, Chichin?
Yeah. This stream actually is about, well, I mean, the big overarching topic is about FF14, but as you can see to our, wait a minute, left, yeah, our left, we have a special guest. Hello. Why don't you go ahead and give us a nice little introduction about yourself before we jump into the main topic at hand?
So like, well, I'm KB. I'm a big video game player. I know Moshi through Chichin. Chichin and I fell in love under the microscope, and then I gave up science because I wanted to be a super international pop star, and that's exactly look at Chichin's like jumper right now. Look, it's me. He's my biggest fan.
The secret's out, guys. Yep.
The secret's out, guys.
Fucking weebs.
I couldn't resist the cat girl. That's basically what it comes down to. Like, oh my gosh, look at her.
And that's why you like Final Fantasy, huh? It's because the cat girls, huh?
That's what it is, man. But yeah, so like speaking of Final Fantasy, I kind of mentioned this in my intro a little bit, but yeah, Moshi and I, we have background in playing MMOs and everything, but KB, you don't really have a background when it comes to MMOs, right?
No, FF14 is like my first MMO.
Right. So yeah, you definitely bring a fresh perspective when it comes to jumping into the game, getting used to the systems, and going through it without getting overwhelmed. So I feel like that's probably one of the big things when you first jump into Final Fantasy as it is, because even us coming from World of Warcraft, like there's so much stuff in Final Fantasy 14. So it must have been like incredibly difficult, or at least, I don't know, different for you to try to navigate your way through all that. Yeah,
I mean, like you said, it was like really overwhelming, and I downloaded the game maybe in like 2018. I made a character on like the free trial. I think by that time, like, it was still Stormblood, like Shadowbringers wasn't even out yet. And then I got so overwhelmed with the UI that I just stopped because I didn't know how to continue. I was just like, I have to, because I've been like I'm a console gamer, and I've always played single player games, like either adventure games or role-playing games. So to add this kind of like multiplayer aspect to it, not in like in multiplayer aspect where like you don't know the person you're playing with, it was just kind of like really weird to me, and I didn't know how to process that. So yeah, and also like the UI, like I play on PS4, and then with the controller, like the UI was just so difficult to get to grips to, and that definitely, like, it took me a while to like get to grips with that when I came back way like in 2020. Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're like a competitive person?
I'm a competitive person, but when it comes to competitive games, I fail so badly because I get too competitive. Like if I want to play Smash Bros with someone, like I will just want to spam buttons, and then that will lead to my downfall in the game. So then I'm like, I fucking fucked up, and I don't want to play anymore. Fuck you guys. So yeah, I kind of stay away from like fighting games and like things like that.
Okay, well, because when you were saying that, like, you made the transition from like single player games over to like the MMORPG sort of genre, right? I sort of like attributed that to the fact that you had never really played with like other people or like with like a large group of people sort of thing, and that's where I think like the MMORPG sort of games flourish is because it has like that sort of community. And like with me and Chichen, you know what I mean, like we grew up with a bunch of brothers, so we constantly had people to like play with, and we were just like naturally like competitive in that sense, right? Like we wanted to be better than one another in whatever we did. And then that sort of translated into when we got into World of Warcraft or whatever, right? It was sort of like we're not just competitive amongst ourselves anymore. There's like other people to be competitive with that like we don't even know, that we've like never met or talked to before. And like that sort of like at least for me, it helped me sort of get into the mindset that like, oh, okay, like it's time to like switch on like like gamer mode, you know what I mean? Like sitting forward, elbows on your knees sort of thing, like gamer posture sort of thing. I don't know.
I mean, like I've always like I have played like games with like my cousins when like like either Smash Bros or Mario Tennis or like Mario Kart or even like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Like we like my cousin had like so good. But like still my cousin had like a GameCube, and so like whenever I would come visit, like that's what we would do. That was our like playing games together would be our like bonding time. Because like there was like a little bit of age difference and personality difference, so like coming together to play games is like when we all shined and like cooperated with one another. But yeah, so it's not that like, oh, I don't want to play games with other people, and that's what kind of like I shied away from MMOs. It was more like I don't know the person I'm playing with, and then that kind of bugged me.
That's really interesting, because I feel like like going back to what Moshi was saying, like one of the cool things I think about I like about MMOs, I don't really know the person that I'm playing with, because it can lead to that sort of like competitive edge type thing depending on the type of content you're doing. But I can understand, like, especially if you're doing like in this game particularly, if you're going through like dungeons or whatever and you don't know the person and they're just either a troll or a flamer, or they just don't know their job, or it's just you can't get through the content specifically because that person, you can't like communicate with them properly. That I can see how that's like annoying and all that. But like especially for like a fantasy game, for like Final Fantasy, right? Because you're in this like you're just basically dropped into this entirely new world. Like I feel like that kind of builds on the experience of like you're a brand new fresh adventurer with all these differing faces around you that you don't know the person behind. So that really helped me step into the skin, as it were, of my character. But I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, like sort of to build off of that too, like what's so different about like the atmosphere of like World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy is, I mean, like we said before in like a previous video, is like the fact that like World of Warcraft is like, it's heavily competitive because there's always an ever-changing meta sort of thing. But like with Final Fantasy, it's so involved where every class where every job can do end game content and do it effectively. It's just like a matter of just like like the very, very, very minute details of like, oh, this job is able to pump out like 1.2% more damage per second than this job or whatever, and like it's those little details that like don't really matter. Like you can do like the biggest end game content in Final Fantasy doing whatever the fuck you want to play, right? But like for World of Warcraft, like you have to play the best class of the best class that patch in order to effectively do the end game content. And so like there's some classes that just like won't be played for sometimes an entire expansion, and that completely neglects an entire player base there. You know what I mean? Like that sucks. But like for me, like when I had made the transition over to Final Fantasy, I was changing as a gamer, right? Like I didn't value so much like the competitive side of a MMORPG anymore. I valued the whole aspect of like the role play, the whole aspect of like wrapping your mind around this character and becoming the character and like getting involved in the world sort of thing. And that's what Final Fantasy brought to me. It's just like you guys have been saying, like Final Fantasy is basically a single player game disguised as an MMORPG.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That actually brings up like my next point I wanted to ask you, KB, was because you've obviously said that you've been into single player games, and among those single player games that you used to play, like you're actually a huge fan of the Final Fantasy franchise as it is, right? Like you've played multiple entries, and like you have like a perspective coming from those fully single player games. So how do they compare with Final Fantasy 14 as an MMO quote unquote RPG, like single player, but has like these MMO elements? Like, do you think that retracts from the story? Do you think it builds, like makes it better? Like what are your thoughts on like the entire saga of Final Fantasy in general, and how does 14 like fit into that?
I think that's a big question. I mean, okay, so my first experience with Final Fantasy was Crystal Chronicles, but my old my core idea is because the first Final Fantasy main series Final Fantasy I finished was FF4 for the DS, and so like that was the first one I completed like from start to finish, and then right after that it was FF3. So like my mind is like Final Fantasy is old school high fantasy like turn-based combat, and then obviously Final Fantasy has modernized, as you've seen with like FF15 is probably, and FF15 and FF13 are like the most modern FFs you can think of right now, because like FF15 doesn't even have a turn-based combat, and then FF14 is high fantasy but doesn't have a turn-based combat system, but it's certainly, it's, you know, you have global active cooldowns, you have your off cooldowns and stuff like that, so it's almost strange because 14 has Final Fantasy elements, but to me doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. And like I don't know how to explain that difference in my mind, because like it has so many different like MMO like concepts of like tank, DPS, healer, but then it borrows a lot of like concepts in terms of like, you use the cure spell, or like like the Dark Knight class is basically, a lot of those moves are taken from like the Dark Knight class in FF4.
So I'm just thinking, so like how much like when you play the game, how much overlap do you like experience between the Final Fantasy like lore and everything and the games that came before? Because okay, you're saying like the Dark Knight class is like taken from Final Fantasy IV, was it, and all of that? Yeah,
that's right. So in FF4, the protagonist is called Cecil Harvey, and like at the very beginning, he starts off as a Dark Knight, and during the course of the game, he turns into a paladin.
Hey, represent.
So like, there's a lot exactly. So Endwalker Endwalker's gonna have a lot of FF4 allusions. So I'm really happy about that.
Interesting. I feel like I gotta play Final Fantasy IV.
Wait, you've never played Final Fantasy IV, Chichen?
I know of Final Fantasy IV. I think I played like the opening sequence when because I think one of these days I was bored when I was in Japan, and I downloaded like on Android. You can like get the game. They have like a port or whatever through Android, and I was like playing that off the Google Play Store, but like it was super buggy, and I never really like got into it. So like I know of Final Fantasy IV, but I never like played a significant amount of it.
Yeah, no. Final Fantasy IV was one of the few like Final Fantasy games that I actually like beat. I think the only Final Fantasy games I've beaten is like Final Fantasy 1, 4, and then 7, and then I didn't even get around to like really quote unquote beating Crystal Chronicles. Like I know Chichen and I used to play it like when we were kids, like, way back in the day. But like I don't ever remember getting close enough to like effectively beat the game.
No, I don't think I played either.
Yeah, and then I played Final Fantasy Tactics as well. I didn't even get close to beating that game either, because I just, dude, this shit rocked me. But like Final Fantasy IV, like especially with like the events that's happening like in the game right now, like leading into Endwalker, just as KB was saying, there's a whole ton of allusions to Final Fantasy IV, with like the whole like main character like poster child of the game switching from a Dark Knight over to a Paladin, and then the whole like idea of like going to the moon, because I know that's like an end part of the game of Final Fantasy IV. I'm just, dude, I'm so excited to just fucking jump in it, dude. It's gonna be dope.
Well, it kind of makes sense, because like in Shadowbringers there's a lot of like FF3 allusions, what with the Crystal Tower, and like even the main theme, even like even one of the lyric of like the main theme, like Tomorrow and Tomorrow, even says Eternal Winds. That's one of the like the lyrics in like the either in one of the verses or the chorus. And then if you want to push that even further,
further beyond.
in Stormblood, there is like, in my mind, there's the illusion that it kind of echoes FF2. And now in FF2, you play as like these orphans whose home has been taken over by an empire or an emperor. And so, in the course of the game, you are trying to take back your home and take over, get back your home back, which is basically what the Almegans did in Stormblood.
Whoa.
Oh shit! I didn't even. Man, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, and then this is what I mean. And then going even further back to A Realm Reborn, to get into the Wakened Sands, you have to say the keyword, something about the wild rose blooming, which is it's in FF2. That's the keyword to get into the rebel base. You have to say the code word is wild rose, and that's a symbol of rebellion.
Hey, what?
Yeah, see,
that's kind of cool, dude. What the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. I feel throughout the game, there's a whole bunch of different things that are little Easter eggs that are sprinkled in there. If you actually played through the previous, The
thing is, there are so many that some even go past my head, and if I read through a Wikipedia article, I'm or the Final Fantasy Wiki article, I'm oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. Fuck, I didn't even know about that one.
Oh, sheesh. Okay, so what's the biggest one that caught you by surprise? That was oh, well, damn, who'd have thunk?
You mean one that whizzed past my head, or one that was just yeah, this is kind of cool?
I guess both. Yeah, which one did you think was the coolest, and then which one went past your head, but after looking back, you realize oh, duh.
There are there's many. I think for me, Trial, because so one of my favorite FFs is FF5, but it's a very niche one. Not many people like it. And in FF5, one of the main characters is called Kryl, middle name Baldessian, which is, one of the scions.
Yeah.
Is called Kryl. And so I was just huh? And then there's the students of Baldessian. And then there's the Isle of Val, or I think it's the Isle of Val. I can't remember in FF14, but in FF5, I think it's called Val or something like that. I'd need to double check my sources.
Mm-hmm.
My sources.
Damn.
Sheesh. What about you, Chichin? Has there been any references to a Final Fantasy game that that you've recognized that completely went over your head, and then you look back and you're oh sheesh?
Oh geez, I mean, I'm sure there are if I actually looked into it. For me, it's more just I don't as I'm going through it, I'm so entrenched in the story that I don't realize that hey, it's a callback to something in the past or whatever. But I'm more sensitive to when they have it's the music actually. So anytime there's music taken from another game or even from a previous part of of Final Fantasy 14 that they harken back to, that's the kind of stuff that tickles my fancy, because I feel I'm very sensitive to musical choice when it comes to telling the narrative. So yeah, anytime they call back to any of the battle themes of previous Final Fantasies, or going into Shadowbringers and they still use the Crystal Tower theme when you went through that through ARR, using those kind of motifs and sprinkling that into the main theme of Shadowbringers, it's oh dude, so good.
Yeah. No, actually, I can completely agree with that. It's the callbacks, because I don't have an extensive history with Final Fantasy games as it is, but when they make callbacks to previous songs that were used in Final Fantasy 14 in general, just from past expansions, yeah, just like Chichin, that shit. Ooh, that's the chef's kiss kind of shit. It's ooh man, I get shivers, I get emotional and shit. Yeah, dude. And it's okay, because I never played the original Final Fantasy 14 game, and so I can't really say for sure how often what is the song called? Canticle, I think is what the song is called. It's a song that plays whenever Alphino talks or Alize talks. It's Louis Sua's theme or whatever. Yeah. I never played the original Final Fantasy 14 when it first came out, and it was an absolute train wreck. But from what I understand, it's I guess that song would play all the time. Whenever Louis Suave was in the game or something, I assume, and I think it's cool that now when your character is talking to Alphino, or whenever there's a thing that calls back to the Calamity or whatever, it's that song plays because it's calling back to Louis Suave and what he did for for the realm and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's fucking.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. Yeah, I feel like there's like the original Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 14 1.0. I feel like that whole thing, like I mentioned this before, like it's kind of swept under the rug in order for them to like remake the game for 2.0, but like it's cool that they still keep the memory alive, like even within the narrative itself, with Dalamud like destroying the world and everything, so that they can make a fresh slate for 2.0. It's not like the game thinks that part of its history doesn't exist, and it'd be really interesting to actually like have played that and see like how they're using that story and what the events of that time and how it interplays and like builds off of what's happening now. Because as we talked about before, like the whole like narrative and everything, there's so many threads that all connect in this great tapestry of like a saga. So there's a part that all three of us are missing because none of us have played 1.0, and there's not really a whole lot of like information about it just because it was, as you said, a train wreck. But to get that perspective and just that little bit of like Easter egg piece into where it fits in the tapestry, I feel like would be really cool to experience.
Yeah. I think it would be, especially because like we started with 2.0, so we started with like fresh adventurer characters, so it must be even more interesting for people who played 1.0 and then like imported their character into 2.0, because that starts like I think because like when we start 2.0, they talk about like the 4 or 5 adventurers, the warriors of light, who stopped the calamity happening, or like the calamity did happen for that matter. And then so it's assumed those characters died. But if you start at 1.0, like, and you import your character over, it's like, you lived to see the disaster, but everyone doesn't remember you.
Whoa, dude, that's like a whole new level of RP right there, dude. Imagine that. Yeah. On those legacy servers, those guys are probably just like, yeah, dude, I lived through the calamity. Like, oh man, dude, that'd be intense.
The calamity itself was the game, dude. Sheesh.
Yeah, right.
You ain't wrong, fuck.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because that goes to show, because when Moshi and I were playing, we're just dicking around on Final Fantasy the other day, and you mentioned like you didn't even realize like the history of the events that happened before ARR, and I was explaining it just to explain it to the viewers or whatever, but like like all that stuff with like the amnesia and all of that, when the battle, when you watch like the initial cutscene when 2.0 was announced, like all of that is history for the lore of the game. And I wonder like who's starting the game like at 2.0 now, or if they just decide to pick up Final Fantasy 14, they go in not knowing all this stuff, so they're essentially the same as all those people in the game where their memories were wiped, right? But like if you actually look into it and like look at the development of when it was 1.0 into 2.0 and then everything in between, like there's this other I don't know, like it just blows my mind that like for people that look and for people that care, there is something for you to find there. But if you wanted to start fresh, as the game assumes that you would, because 1.0 was such a train wreck, like you would be fine and still enjoy it nonetheless. So
yeah, true. And that, okay, so like that sort of segues into like the question that I want to ask. This question extends to you, Chichin, and also to you, KB. Is like when you guys officially got into Final Fantasy 14, what was the main draw for it? Because like I know some people will play like Final Fantasy 14 and like they've never played a video game at all, right? But some of them will like stick with it for like different reasons. Like some of them will be like, oh, I stuck it for the story, or I stuck it because my character is important and it makes me feel important, sort of thing. Or like I stuck it for like the graphics and blah 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 blah. What was the main draw for you guys to stick for the game?
Yeah, I'll go quick, KB. You go ahead and answer first.
Probably this. Like, one was the story, because in FF14, I felt like the story was much different, and like there was just there's so much content even now. But even when I was playing A Realm Reborn, like the fucking level 10, like just Sprout, like I didn't even realize how much content there was going to be. So like I was just like, I want to find out what this story is about. And number two, you know, it's an MMO, so I can play this with my friends. I can play this with Chitin, or I can play this with Mochi. So it's just like a way to stay connected, like even though you're like on different continents.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That's actually it. Yeah, that's something I actually overlooked of why I liked it also. But yeah, for me, what drew me, like I mentioned in a previous stream that we did, was just the aesthetic of the game. I loved the aesthetic, and it was such a departure from the way WoW was. So what initially I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this game because the graphics are stunningly beautiful on this new laptop I just bought, and like, oh man, it just looks amazing versus like the more cartoony. Yeah, it's in like, yeah, WoW has its charm and everything, but like Final Fantasy looks beautiful, like. The animations look beautiful. The battle effects look beautiful. Everything about the game, in my opinion, looks beautiful. And I love the models of all the characters, as well as the options that you could do to make your own character. I thought that was really neat. So that's what struck me first, right? And then from there, going into actually like diving into the story itself, right? The story was like rewiring my brain of like, okay, don't treat this as an MMO, treat it as an RPG, and like going through like every little thing that you do matters was really, really jarring, but like interesting. So just, and like building off of that and just walking through what the game is like trying to show you, and then going to this like KB was saying, like there's so much content as well. It was like stepping into a brand new world. So I don't know, it was that just all of it. It was just so overwhelming at first, but once you like hone in and focus and just realize like, hey, I have all the time in the world and I can enjoy myself as opposed to, you know, try to accomplish something, then it was, I was hooked.
You bringing up aesthetic is like a really interesting point, because to me the aesthetic of each expansion is so different, and I think, well, I mean that makes sense because in each expansion you're exploring a new continent, or you're exploring a new realm, a realm reborn, if you will. Because like in a realm reborn, it's like oh no,
I'm about to head out.
Bye. Okay, because like it makes sense, because it's like what in Heavensward, it's like here's this European-esque aesthetic. It's very Catholic. Very Gothic, and then you very Gothic, and then you go to Stormblood. It's kind of like you've got like I don't know, Middle Eastern European-esque with Alamiko, and then Far East with sorry, what's the word? With with Doma and Hingachi and like Yansha, and then there's like like this is what Moshi was saying like a while back, that you know Shadowbringers, you know, Norvrent has many different aspects to it as well. It echoes the continent that, you know, the Gridania and everything is on. I forget the name, but there's like with Shadowbringers, there's a sci-fi element to it. There's a sci-fi aesthetic to it that just we haven't really seen in that way, other than say maybe the end of like Heavensward, where you're going to that Allegan place in the sky.
Yeah.
But so I'm just saying each expansion has its own aesthetic.
What's your personal favorite aesthetic from any expansion?
Oh God, it's hard. For me, actually, Shadowbringers, like Heavensward, like I think we can all collectively say is our favorite. So like, just getting that out of the way. Like for me, Shadowbringers is just like so clean, and like every area has its own personal charm.
Especially
when you get to endgame, sorry, and then especially when you get to endgame Shadowbringers, or like, you know, patch point 5.1, like there's, you know, should we put a spoiler warning on this thing?
Oh yeah, in case you haven't noticed, there's gonna be spoilers. Like luckily we haven't gotten too far in depth about the actual content of the game itself, but yeah, there will be spoilers as we discuss this. So there's my disclaimer.
Nice, dude. We're
nice.
How far?
Like half an hour in already. I'll go minutes. Like I honestly don't think we spoiled much like yet. So yeah.
Not yet. I mean, I was going to talk about Endgame, like Shadowbringers, but like that came out a year ago. Anyway, it was like when you get to like Amarot, and then you that's when like the game kicks off into like, yo, we're going to sci-fi elements right here.
no, actually, to like build off of that, like the whole, so it was when I was first playing through like the Shadowbringers expansion, it like I specifically remember talking to Chichin like about it, like it was like a morning or something, and we were like in the kitchen like making breakfast or whatever, and I was complaining about the fact that like I didn't like Shadowbringers simply because of like how detached it felt from like the grounded reality that was Eorzea, right? That was Eorzea and Yansha and and Doma, right? Because like all those places, it felt so visceral and real, right? It wasn't like we're like traveling in time, we're not going to like different dimensions and stuff. And like the magic, it felt real because it was like through crystals, and like the whole like live stream and like the whole like primal thing was like so well built up in A Realm Reborn, Heavensward, and Stormblood that like when we get transported over to Northrend, I was like, okay, this is cool, I guess. It's kind of like the whole like timey-wimey or like oh, because magic sort of thing, you know what I mean? And then like the more that I go through it, and like the more that like the story explains to your character via like exposition or narrative, or like through the dungeons and the trials and stuff, like the more you start to get invested into A, the characters, B, the places, and then like C, like the whole like narrative arc of oh god, what the fuck are they called? Asians. And then finally, like when the culmination happens, I literally was not expecting it. I wasn't expecting to like get as hyped as fuck as I did.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to start crying when like like it all came to like the climactic point of just like, this is it. Like it's fucking do or die. But no. It was definitely like a slow burn for me. Shadowbringers was a big, fucking massive miss. Like when it first started out, I was just like, man, like what the hell is this shit? Like I don't connect with this. And then like just the more I played it, I was like, oh shit, okay, so this is why people this is why everyone's like Shadowbringers is the best. And I was like, I understand.
Yeah,
okay.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Now I get it.
It's like, now I wakaru.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was actually yesterday I think, KB were having a discussion about Shadowbringers, or just like the highs and lows and things we enjoyed about each expansion. And one of the things that was brought up was like, does Shadowbringers like live up to the hype? And I remembered our talk back when we were making breakfast, like you were saying, Moshi. We're like we were saying like Shadowbringers is like, it's fun and everything, but I don't know, I'm not feeling the craziness that everyone has like built it up to be. And yeah, just because all of that happens at the end due to the buildup of it all. And my feelings about Shadowbringers is that, just as you were saying, we're thrust into this entirely new kind of environment, this entirely new like section of the world, not even the world, of like the stars and everything. So that Shadowbringers had the really, really difficult job of getting us, I guess, up to speed almost, or setting a foundation for our belief, as it were, before it can push us off a cliff in order to feel the feels that the rest of the game did so well, right? And I think that's just a testament to like the writing of that expansion, like particularly because it had to start from ground zero, and then it built all the way up to the craziness where you feel like you want to cry, and Graha's bringing the other adventurers, and you have to fight what's his face, and it's like, holy shit, this is like insane, right?
This is it.
Yeah, versus like,
oh god.
Yeah, but like that's in comparison versus to where Heavensward is so amazing because of the foundation built in ARR, right? So the whole expansion of Heavensward is like being pushed off of the cliff because you already are established in this world, you believe the narrative, you know where your character stands and everything, and now it's just like, all right, it's time to just gut punch you every single like second in Heavensward as like you're trying to like claw yourself out. Versus in Shadowbringers, it's like, I don't really know this, like I don't feel like honestly I don't feel comfortable here yet. So like it's like trying, the game and the story has to make you feel comfortable before they can hit you repeatedly in the gut with the feels.
Damn.
feel-
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Good.
No, I was just saying to like Chichen yesterday. I think it was like, you know, this is why Shadowbringers felt so episodic. You go to each area, you save that area, you defeat the Light Warden, you bring back the Night Sky, and then you just like check. You were literally, to me, it felt like you were checking boxes. Like, okay, I've been to Amarang, I've been to Calusia. Let's go to Ilmeg. Let's and then like blah blah blah, and then I think. But that's what I mean. Like, the pacing of Shadowbringers was so good that it's like, we're gonna like gently take you by the hand. We're gonna pace through the game really well to build up, what this realm has been through, what the first has been through, and then it's like, okay, now here's all the emotional communication. Because like, I feel Shadowbringers is a really personal story because. This light within spoiler warning. This light within the Warrior of Light that is probably tearing it apart. It's happening to you, the player. Like, this is making the stakes. Like, to me, the stakes have never been higher. Like, there's this light happening within you, and it's tearing you apart. And you are responsible for stopping the shard. The 8th Umbral Calamity. The stakes have never been higher.
Yeah, no, and like sort of to build off of that, it's like the emotional highs and the emotional lows that Shadowbringers alone like makes you feel is so powerful. Like a big thing that I've like sort of like been about lately is the idea of writing being evocative, right? Of writing and story, like pulling an emotion from the reader, right? Or like from the audience, and something that like I cannot oh god, what's the word? I can't possibly like understate is how masterfully crafted Shadowbringers does that sort of evocative writing. It really forces you as the player, right? Because the whole story is like it's centered around you. It's like yeah, like Shadowbringers is about the first, right? And it's about all these people like surviving in this post-apocalyptic world, right? And like, because you're here, there's a chance that you're able to save them, right? But like it's sort of like the metaphor that like the first is it's you, it's your fucking story, and like you have to be the one to like fix it. And like what's so beautiful about it is like the main story quest alone like already helped to bring that sort of evocative writing. But like, I don't know if you guys have ever done any of the side quests like in Norvrant, but like I went ahead and did like a number of the side quests that were in Calusia, and like the oh my god, dude, like the state of like the surrounding little villages like around like Yulmore and stuff, and getting like the stories of the people and like what they've had to live with and stuff, and like every little bit that your player does, that your character does, it helps, and it aids in that factor of just like, oh, like these people need a hero. I am that hero. I am here to mete out the cancer that is light, which is something that I've been fighting for like my entire fucking career in like the main world. I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Source.
Oh, yeah, the source. And it's like it's oh, dude, it's so good. I'm literally like, oh god, I get sweaty when I talk about like things that like excite me, and dude, I'm fucking dripping sweat right now.
Sweaty.
Oh my god,
It's not the coronavirus, guy. It's the excitement about it.
yeah, dude. Oh my god, it's too fucking good. I can't understate it. It's like, but like what KB was saying earlier is that our favorite is okay. Like is that like it's sort of understood that like our favorite expansion is Heavensward, right? Like you guys can all agree on that. But like, what makes it your guys' favorite? Like I mean, apart from the obvious, what makes it your guys' favorite expansion in terms of like the whole overarching story that we just
what makes Heavensward so good?
Heavensward.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, okay, so yeah,
think-
KB, what do you think?
Heavensward just starts off on such a strong note that, at the end of A Realm Reborn, you have your quote-unquote bloody bloody banquet, where, like, the Scions are in disarray. You are kind of... it's kind of like you're expelled from Uga, or, like, so you're taken by Haurchefant, and, it's the Heavensward song, and you're walking through that long bridge to Ishgard with Tataru and Alphino, and then you're walking through the heavy snow. You've got your good heavy cloaks on. You get into Ishgard, and there are Ishgardians, who are giving you the dirty stare because you are an outsider. And then all throughout this, it's Count Fortin. He's describing what is happening, what has brought you to this. And then it's the title. And it's just like, wow, that's a great introduction that hasn't been defeated by, or hasn't been beaten by, the Stormblood introduction or the Shadowbringers introduction. That's a great introduction to an expansion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the setup for the beginning of Heavensward is just, it's epic. Like it's absolutely freaking amazing, and it really like we talked about stakes before, but like going from the end of ARR after the Bloody Banquet and then stepping into Ishgard, or the western part of Kurthis, into the snow, it's just like it creates that dichotomy of just like going from the nice little Eorzea to this foreign land, which is literally, it doesn't even really have like a border, and yet everything over there is so foreign. So you really feel that step into an expansion without feeling like you're being transported to like another world. Like, yes, we, like in Shadowbringers that happens, but like for me, like going in, like coming from World of Warcraft, where like going to another expansion was you just go to another world, right? Like, just fuck Azeroth, you go to the Outlands. Fuck Azeroth, you go to Northrend. It's like a completely different continent. It's a completely different everything. Whereas going from ARR to Heavensward was like, no, you're in the same place, and they've mentioned this, and like we know about the Holy See. We know about all of the stuff there that happens in Ishgard, in that sort of closed off place, and now you finally get to enter into it, and with the narration from the Fortomp guy, and then seeing the snow and the fucking music, man. Oh my god. Yeah, the track that plays, and you just enter into this, like, oh my, it's grandiose. It is literally like the definition of epic, and it doesn't stop from there. Like, everything that you learn is still connected with like all of the rumors and everything that you hear about when you were doing your time in Eorzea, and it's just another thing I loved about Heavensward was they did church right. Like, sure, the church is bad. Yeah. Like, the church is the bad guy, but man, there's so many in any form of media, in like anime and usual other stories. Like, usually they just fuck up church, and it's like, I don't know, but the like the standings, the position, the differential between powers of like the people who are the priests versus like the public, and like all of their systems, and all of that, what they had with the Holy See, with the Archbishop, like it was believable, it was real, and you can feel the weight of it all. And I don't know, that was also like really refreshing about that expansion.
No, like to sort of build on that too. It's like like if I had to allude to something, right? Like comparing like World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy once again, like the idea of religion, right? In World of Warcraft, like, at least from what I understand, there isn't really a religion. It's sort of like these cosmic forces, like the cosmic force of light, right? And then like people sort of like worship the light or whatever, and it's like this it's compared to good, right? Like in terms of like good and evil, it's entirely fucking black and white. There's like light is good, and then shadow or void is bad. And like for X amount of expansions, at least up until Legion, like it's been completely understood that light is like, oh, it's holy, it's righteous, it is the good thing, and in order to like banish wickedness and evil, like just pray to the light. That's it, right? But like in Final Fantasy, it's not just like the church or like the religion is like the goodness, right? It's like it is it is like intertwined with government. It's a society. It's a society. It is the society of this entire like nation of people, right? And like that's so fucking like and like to once again like bring it back to like the whole like idea of like being evocative in writing and narrative, right? Like the music in Heavensward, it's like a large majority of it is piano or like organ, right? It's like it's those religious sort of like I don't even know the word. It's like those that religious feel of like the music that like captures like the idea that like the church is everywhere, that like the Holy See is everything in Ishgard, right? And like what KB was saying, right? Like Heavensward starts off so strong because it is the downfall of the Scions. It's the downfall of Alphino's whatever like sort of like army that he was trying to build. Crystal Braves. Yeah. It was the fall of the Crystal Braves. It's fucking Alphino's lowest point because of his failure with the Crystal Braves, as well as like basically getting all of the Scions killed. Tataru's lowest point because she's basically lost all of her friends and all she has is Alphino, who is basically a child as well. And then you, who, I mean, haven't really developed like a strong relationship with Tataru anyway, because you're always out there fighting fucking primals. And then there's fucking you, and like your whole guidance was the Scions, and now they're all fucking gone, and all you have is Alphino. And like as KP was saying, as you're walking across that impossibly long bridge, it's cold, which further reinforces the idea that like you guys are alone. It's just you three, and it's like it's lonely. And then when you get to Ishgard, it's not like this. I mean, it's beautiful, right? But it's broken. It is it's shattered. Like when you enter into like the lower portion of Ishgard, there's fucking broken stone all over the place. It's further reinforcing that idea that like that like this is rock bottom. It's only upward from here, but it's going to be a fucking journey because, just as KB was saying, you are strangers in a strange land. Everyone's giving you dirty looks. You know what I mean? And I love that. That was the word, the fucking buzzword for today is evocative. It was evocative. The feeling that I got was just like, oh, dude, I'm sweating again. I gotta stop talking. Holy shit.
I think what Moshi was saying is true, but he's forgetting that we had Haurchefant.
Oh,
he helped us. He gave us the cocoa. He gave us the cocoa, and he's like, "Yeah, just come see my family in Ishgard. We'll take care of you." And remember, like in Heavensward, like the Count was just like Haurchefant like said like the Warrior of Light changes things, does good, and then Count Fortin was like, yeah, I didn't believe him at the time. And then, Haurchefant dies, and then you stop the Dragonsong War, and he's just like, oh no, he was right. You change things. You do good, and, you make everything happen.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Rip in peace, you freaking hero.
Yeah, dude.
I think what's something I wanted to note is that you have a whole new voice cast with Heavensward. And there was good voice acting in A Realm Reborn. Like, obviously, some were hits, some were miss.
Yeah.
I don't want to insult any voice actors, but I think definitely for me, hearing Sam Riegel as Alphino, and then hearing, I can't remember, Colin Ryan, I think is his voice actor in after Heavensward and Beyond, they sound completely different, and that's a good thing, because in A Realm Reborn, Sam Riegel's Alphino sounds so pompous, like, I am so righteous, like, I'm going to make the Crystal Braves, and then I'm going to solve Aerys's problems, and then that falls flat, like, the Crystal Braves betray him. And then you hear him in Heavensward, and he sounds, first of all, he sounds how he should as a 16, 17-year-old boy, and he sounds a lot more humbled, in a way. And I thought, like, to me, that was a very impressive change.
Yeah. I think honestly that kind of leads into like this discussion just about characters of this game just in general. Like, yeah, the voiceover change was jarring at first, but I think they really did an excellent job, of recasting everyone to really capture how they would feel. And yeah, everybody, I don't have any complaints about any of the characters, their new voices about that. But your point about Haurchefant too was like, that's another reason why Heavensward was so freaking good, was because all of the characters are like, all of the new characters that you meet and the cast that they include in Heavensward is like A tier or like S tier, honestly, because our favorite character is in that expansion, and just even his little snippets in ARR at the very end in the patch notes or whatever, just fucking Aymeric, dude. Oh my god, that guy like changed the whole goddamn game with his entrance into that. Because like, just on like a story side, right? When he first comes, you don't really know much about this, just that he's like an emissary almost from
and I was just
right?
like, I don't trust this guy.
Yeah, but like learning about him, and he seems so grounded and so fucking real, and his voice is like buttery smooth, so like there's no reason not to like him. But like, just like how they make it so that he's not just a two-dimensional like gotcha character of like, you don't know if you should trust this guy when you first meet him, to like really like seeing his motivations as the expansion goes on, and then him taking up the mantle as, you know, the son of the Archbishop, and Thordrin dies or whatever, and then him becoming like a leader is like, it mirrors like your and Alphino's own story of like finding yourself. And like, I don't know, it's great that they have that growth in all of the characters that you meet, as opposed to just inserting a random person, you know, for just to move forward a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. No, and dude, oh my god, like it's like you were saying about Aymeric, right? It's the fact that you grow with this guy is that he's it wasn't on our terms that he came to us. It was on his terms, and it was on his terms that we came into Ishgard as well, right? And so it sort of like leads to that that idea that like, oh, like we can't really trust this guy because like he's pulling all the strings. He's the one that's getting us into Ishgard and like talking to like House Dayfaltom, right, to like let us stay there and all that stuff. And like he's requesting our help, but like it's not like we're not setting any conditions. We just have no place to go.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're doing this, right? And so, but like the gradual growing of trust between like the trio, which is Alphino, Tataru, and your character, and Aymeric, right? Like that growing bond, as well as like every other like character in fucking like Heavensward, right? It's just it's so real. And like, oh my god, another thing that I love is the fact that these characters don't just disappear after the expansion. They continue to like be important in your life. These are your friends, and that's like, oh my fucking god, like what?
Yeah.
Like I have never had that in a video game, or at least an MMORPG, where like an NPC that I've met, right, and I've built like a relationship with, shows up again, like to be like a prominent figure, probably not in the narrative, but like for like my own character's personal fucking comfort. That's huge. That is like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, like in the newest patch, and then you have to go to Ishgard for some reason, and then Aymeric with like one or two of the Beast Tribe emissaries are, you know, just comes by, and he's just like, my friend, what are you doing here? Yeah. And then you tell him your problems, and he's just like, of course, let me help you. And it's just like, my video game boyfriend is helping me. I love him.
Right?
Yeah, dude. Okay, yo, speaking of that, when he invites you to dinner, dude, I was like, I gotta fucking tell you how long I spend at the market board to
getting the
make an
glamours
outfit. Yeah. So like I went ahead and went to the fucking like aesthetician to like get a haircut. I like changed my makeup and everything, dude. I was like, dude,
yeah, dude.
like, yeah, bro, I'm having a day with Aymeric, bro.
Moshi, you look different.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And then, like, it was definitely, they definitely threw a bone to, like, the players with that, date. Because, like, I remember one of the options is, like, I think you're talking about adventures, and he's just like, oh, maybe, he's like, oh, I want to go on an adventure with you, and then, your character goes, like, yeah, why don't you come with me? And he's just like, oh, duty calls, and it's just like, no, come on.
I want to spend time with you, please.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And then now in Shadowbringers we have Guahatia with us, dude. And it's like, dude, oh my god, this guy's is like the biggest fucking simp for your character.
Oh my god, it's so great because like I think in the newest patch 5.4, like even your stall is just like, oh, go ahead, go hang out with your hero, and then Graha's just like, what? It's not like that.
Yeah. No, we know Graha, we know.
And it's just like the wall has two hands, like one for Aymeric, one for Graha.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man, fucking ridiculous.
But that just goes to show just how great and lovable and likable these characters are, because I kind of want to swing back to Haurchefant, right? And like his Haurchefant represented some of the highs of the game as well as one of like the very, very lows when like he actually gets killed, right? At that point where he gets like shot through by that fucking temple guard or whatever, and it's like, damn, it hits different because this is someone you legitimately cared about, right? Like he was one of like the 5 that walked the bridge with you or whatever and brought you from like your darkest point after like the bloody banquet, and like it's just like
he did it out of his like the kindness of his own heart. Like I think it's like in the Around Reborn like quests, you go to Kurthus, you go to the Central Highlands, and then like you help Haurchefant out with some things like and then he's always so happy to see you, and then like and then there's that I think it was like 2.55 scene, and like it's the first scene where he's voiced, and he's bringing in the Coco, and he's like everything's gonna be the Coco scene, and he's like everything's gonna be okay. He's like cheer up, and then it's just and he's like throughout Heavensward, he is your biggest cheerleader. Like when when what is it like? I think it's the Warrior of Light, Alphino, Estinian, and Yazael. I always forget how to pronounce her name. You come back from the journey through the Dravanian hinterlands, and then you're like, oh no, we have to get back to Ishgard because like the Horde is moving to attack Ishgard. You go back, and like Yazael's like a heretic, and then Haurchefant's like, everyone's just like, what's this heretic doing here? What? And then you roll up to Ishgard with this heretic, and then Haurchefant just like sees you two, like he's just like, all heretics must die, and then he sees you, the Warrior of Light, with a heretic, and he's like, heretics are pretty good right now. He immediately changes his mind because of you.
Yeah, and like what's cool about it too, something that really helps to reinforce like the relationship between like your character and Haurchefant is the idea that like it's just like you guys were saying, he's your biggest cheerleader, and not just because of like the way you look or whatever. It's the deeds that you do, right? It's rooted in the core gameplay. It's just you being a good person by like doing the quests and like helping out around like the Kurthus hinterlands, right? Or the Kurthus highlands, yeah. It's like he's cheering you on because he's just like, oh, like this is a good person. You are a hero because you're helping people. And like he helps to cheer you on, and he's like there to comfort you in like your darkest time, and like help to build you up. He offers you like sanctuary in fucking House Day for Tom and everything, and like the whole time he's like fighting alongside you. This guy fucking idolizes you, and not because of like anything that's like outside of the game or anything. It's literally rooted in the core gameplay.
Yeah.
You're just doing the things that the game tells you, but this guy's like your biggest fucking cheerleader, and he makes you feel special just for playing the fucking game. And like and so when his death finally happens near like the end of Heavensward, and you finally confront like the Pope or like whatever the fuck he was, and like and
The fucking Pope, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
well, like yeah, and fucking Haurchefant dies. Like even in his death, dude, he's still cheering you on. He's like, no, like, don't cry for me.
Yeah,
a smile better
dude.
suits a hero. I lost my shit, dude. I had to step away from my computer to
Yeah.
like cry, dude. I was
Yeah.
like, no,
That's such a
no
good
fucking
quote.
way. And then the quote comes up later on
Yeah.
in Shadowbringers.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
like,
Oh man,
no!
that's the one that hit it, dude. When
Yeah.
it's like it's when you're talking to Reen, right? Before you go into like the temple to fight Selk at the last scene, right? And she's like feeling like nervous or whatever, and like one of the dialogue options is that quote, and it's like, oh bro, there it is.
Yeah, dude.
It's like I'm feeling
and-
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
yeah, dude, and it's cool too, because like that's not okay. Like it's helping you like just the fact that dialogue option is there. It's like reinforcing the idea that like people in your past like matter to you, and you can choose to say that quote because it made you feel a certain way, or it helped you carry on. The fact that like they had the option is just, it speaks volumes to like what it means to play this Final Fantasy game. It's not about the fucking parses, it's not about the DPS, it's not about like the fucking like mechanics, it's about the fucking story and the relationships that you build with the characters. Oh my god, guys, you guys gotta talk for me. I'm sweating.
I think it's COVID.
Yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, Haurchefant is such a good little microcosm of that idea that the relationships in this game fucking matter. Like, man, and yeah, it like I said, it hits you in the gut. Like his whole arc and everything that he represents, and just seeing his fall, but how it stays with you, and you can still evoke, you know, his memory at certain parts of the game. It's like, god damn, dude, god damn.
Yeah, like, and then
Exactly.
when, what is it, like the end of the Dragon Song War quests, when you're taking the eyes out of like Nidhogg controlled Estinian, and then you see Yzael and Haurchefant again, and it's just like,
Oh
god, no, dude.
It's anime as fuck, but like, oh, dude.
but the thing is like Heavensward, the 2.0, it's good. The pacing is a little off, especially towards the end, I feel, because suddenly you're in the sky in this Argon like world, and Yzael is kind of like fringed off for like no reason, in my opinion. But it's the Dragon Song War quest. It's the culmination of that scene where Nidhogg is finally attacking Ishgard.
Oh, dude.
And yeah, like, we could talk about that scene because it's so momentous. Like, it's that scene that really cinches that like Heavensward is the best expansion for me.
Yeah, that's I remember when you get to that part where where you have to do the trial of Nidhogg on the bridge, right? You have to fight him, but before you go in there and you actually queue up for it, like, they set it up where it's just your character with like the gap in the bridge. Nidhogg's on the other side, like looking menacingly, and they play the vocals.
Dragon Song.
Yeah, the actual Dragon Song. Oh god. And like for me, I'm like, I actually don't know if I want to do this right now. I'm gonna sit here for like 5 minutes and just just take this all in, the gravity of the situation. And it's like, man, dude, that was just, it's intense. It's intense, and it's visceral.
Yeah, dude. And oh god, and like the symbolism of that it's like you're carrying like the memory of Haurchefant with you. You're representing House Daferton. You're representing Aymeric at that point. You're representing the whole of fucking Ishgard. And then across from the bridge, where this split is, right?
That's good.
Is the embodiment of rage. Is Nidhogg itself, right? Not itself, but himself. And like oh, okay. So, like, I'm gonna talk about symbolism here, right? And like what like that whole like pre-trial like means, right? Or like at least how I interpreted it, because I get wet for this shit, dude. Okay, like the split. Okay, so like the break on the bridge, right?
Warning on me.
yeah, dude. So okay, so like the break on the bridge, like to me, it symbolized like what the whole Dragon Song War was about, right? It was the tearing of humankind or mankind basically, and the dragons, and then now like you guys are meeting face to face. You guys are looking at one another. They literally set it up that way. And like the song is playing, it has the vocals, so like you know what the Dragon Song War is about now if you listen to it, with fucking Nidhogg, who is like the culmination of like why the dragons are attacking Ishgard, and like you who are representing everything that Ishgard's about, and it's like, oh, it's too good. It's like, oh my fucking god, dude, the fucking subtext. And just that scene alone is so, it's evocative.
Dude, feeling it. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. That hits the nail on the head. Like, damn. Like, just thinking back. Like, if there are some moments in this game that I could experience again, that one would be up there, like way up there. Cause shit, like, it's not very often a video game makes you like want to sit back and be like, let me take this in. You know what I mean? So, oh, god damn.
Yeah, definitely sometimes when I'm like listening to the Heavensward OST, it like makes me think like I want to like wipe my memory of like the expansion so I can re-experience it as the first time again.
Yeah.
It's like you never forget your first expansion.
Fucking hell, this sheesh. For real.
Oh my god, even the scene after where you're like tearing the eyes and like you see Yuzale, and I always pronounce her name wrong, and like Haurchefant, and you tear the eyes out, and then like Aymeric, like it's the culmination of the song, and then like Aymeric is like, throw the eyes into the abyss, and then the song just culminates as the eyes fly into the abyss below, and it's just like chef's kiss.
There it is, man.
Fuck.
Goddamn.
It's too good, guys. It's too good. Fucking. Yeah. And okay, for those of you who are fucking watching, okay, like after the stream and shit, and you haven't played Final Fantasy, this is all fucking free. Yeah, dude, it's free. Yep. Just play it. Yeah. Play the fucking game. It's free.
Dude. All this stuff, yeah. Through the end of Heavensward, that is first of all, it's an insane amount of content. Like just that they're like begging you to play. Like, dude, like just check it out. But also like, yeah, like the quality of it is just bonkers. It's fucking bonkers. Like it makes people like us like sit around and want to discuss this stuff because of the feels, like the gut punch, the evocativeness of it all. And like just go and experience it. If you haven't already experienced it, I'm sure you're probably in the same boat as us where you want to experience it for the first time again. So for the lucky few of you who have never experienced it, like just like sit back and just let it wash over you, because it really is a wild ride, and it's something that you that we can't understate, as Moshi said before. Yeah. Like, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, dude, and it's like, dude, it like it'll change the way you fucking like look at fucking games, dude. I swear to God, like any like. I played Heavensward, right? And then like a few, like I think a couple months ago, I tried to play this game called Ni no Kuni. Oh my fucking god, dude. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? Like, what is this storytelling, dude? I want to fucking shoot my brain out, because it's like, bro, what? Like, I just don't care. And it's like, if you're not gonna like give me that evocativeness, right? That like Final Fantasy is gonna give me, then like, dude, like, why even play the game, bro? Like, it's just Holy shit, man. It'll change the way you play story games 100%. I guarantee it. And if I'm wrong, then you got bad taste, bro.
The call out right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then I think that's like a great place to go from, okay, the amazingness, the super up that was Heavensward, and just, you know, being like overflowed with this sense of like satisfaction, to the expansion that most people, or it, as I guess it's notorious for not hitting as high as Heavensward. So Stormblood, expansion number 2. So initially, yeah, what are your guys' like actual like thoughts about that? Because I find that my opinions about it have kind of swayed over time the more I play the rest of the game and the longer like it's been, and when I look back on it. But like, I want to hear from you guys first.
I was disappointed. Like, that's the only way I can say about it. Like, I feel like getting through Stormblood was just kind of a slog. Like, just, you know, I was just like, you know, when I was playing through A Realm Reborn, like, I was really interested in, like, Alamigo and, like, little Alamigo. Like, you go there and you hear the refugees' plight, and I was just like, oh, yeah, kind of like Alamigo, I kind of want to know more about this place, because it doesn't have a European aesthetic to it. It's maybe set in, like, the Middle East. I'm not sure what kind, or maybe Eastern European. Some people say that Alamegans are supposed to be, say, Kurdish or something like that. And then I go there, and then it's first of all, Xenos is a very boring fucking villain, and he just sits around half the time and calls you his friend, and I'm like, who the fuck are you supposed to be?
That ass though, that big old banana.
Yeah, you sick,
dump
bro.
truck, dude. Come on, you can't deny he's packing.
God damn it, ever since I sent that meme.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's because I played Stormblood right after I got back from Japan in last year. But going to Kugane, just going to Kugane and then hearing all these Japanese coded people say Ijin, like Gaijin, which is like meaning foreigner, and I was just like, this cut's a bit deeper than it's supposed to. Shut up, Chichi, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, I guess I think the way that I took it was probably a little bit different, but okay, yeah. So on if you were to like rate Stormblood on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it at?
Is that to me or to both of us?
To you first.
Fuck. 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10? Okay, yeah.
Well, you know, it's kind of, I think it's being generous, but like the thing is, like, I feel like I should have like gone through like a speed run of like Stormblood before starting this, because I'm like, I don't remember half the shit that happened.
Yeah, dude, there it is. The truth comes out. Okay.
No, I remember the, like, I think someone would be like, oh, you remember this part in this patch, and I'd be like, yeah, of course I do, but now I'm just like blanking.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, so it was definitely a miss for KB. Stormblood, a miss. Okay. Well then, so Moshi, like, what are your thoughts on Stormblood?
So I think when I was first playing through it, I think I had the initial thoughts that KB had of like, man, like, this is a slog. This isn't nearly like as evocative as like Heavensward or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, so because I'm an avid RPer, right? And I love to like really get into my character. I had already like sort of like I did some reading up about like the different like quote unquote races of like the Final Fantasy 14 like world and stuff, and I had sort of like come to the conclusion that my character was from like Alamigo, right? And that's like my headcanon. And so when we went to like Alamigo to like free you know, like that whole like land and everything, it kept me going. in the sense that like I'm like my character is rooted in this place. Like she grew up here or whatever, and like she made her way over to Ul'dah and like blah 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 blah. That's just like the role play that I had in my mind. And so like liberating that land from Garlemald was satisfying, right? But like at the end of the day, like the emotional highs and the emotional lows weren't nearly as good as Heavensward. But like now that I look back on it, right? I look back on it and I like think about like it, like Stormblood's place in the whole like grand scheme of things. I would definitely rate it higher than I would have when I had first initially played it. Like when I had first initially played it, I probably would have rated it the same thing that KB did, like a solid 6 out of 10. But now I would say it's at least an 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay, yeah. I think you and I have some very similar feelings about it then, because yeah, when first going through that expansion, I was in the same boat, right? It's kind of a slog. It seems it didn't open as strong as Heavensward did, which is unfortunate. And I think a lot of that was it didn't like my expectations of going past that wall right into not Alamigo territory, but into like the fringes and everything wasn't exactly what I was thinking. Like in my head, I thought anything outside of just the main Eorzea like continent or whatever would be like this like war-torn battlefield with like soldiers strewn everywhere, fire, and it would look like there's like an actual war going on. But then you go there and it's like there's a castrum whatever, where you like first station at, and it's all like a planning area, and it's just like this like vast like desert thing, and there's like little skirmishes that they make in like the actual story, but like in the world itself there doesn't really seem to be like a whole lot of fighting. It's like all dead. And in my head I was like, oh, there's like this is the front, right? This is where all the fighting is happening. But you step into it and it's like there's nothing happening. It's more just like planning and this, and then you go hang out at like Rogger's Reach or whatever, where it's, it's a bunch of, refugees coming together trying to like build up their forces. But I didn't feel the immediacy of the war that the patch quests before going into Stormblood like made it out to be. I was expecting like, okay, it's go time. We're gonna fight here on the front. But then Stormblood is just like, okay, not really. We're actually going to explore all these things, which goes into another reason why I feel like this this expansion wasn't as good as Heavensward, because in Stormblood you once again had to reestablish lore. You had to reestablish everything. You had to build a foundation the same way Shadowbringers did, because you're going into this new place, a brand new continent, like everything across the wall, right? And you're going all the way to the far east, so you don't feel comfortable, you don't know anything about it. So in order to give you some footing, a foundation, the game needs to like bring you, like put all of that into the story, which makes it feel like a slog. But so that's why I feel like Stormblood as well wasn't as good during like the expansion and like the initial 3.0 and everything. But what I loved about Stormblood, I think this is Stormblood, this was after the actual expansion itself, going into the patch quests. One thing that I thought was fucking amazing, and I thought was just like one of the highlights of the game itself, was that meeting you do with the Eorzean Alliance in like the council room with not Xenos, Varys. Yeah, like the politics of that are so fucking real. Like it's not just like Varys is a bad. Well, yeah, he's like a bad guy, but you know why he has the power, because like they explain it. Like he knows everything about Eorzea, and it was just incredible to see like this guy is like he's not just like a big bad. He has a brain, right? And Garlemald knows its enemies, and as he's like shutting down all of the peace offerings that Aymeric put out, that Merlwyb put out, that everyone from Ul'dah put out, it's like that's when you realize why these guys are still at war, right? And not just like there is a war for the sake of war, but because Garlemald and Eorzea's like ideals are just fundamentally different. But are they actually like you could still see from his side, even though it's like evil or wrong, even though like your character obviously is put on the Eorzean side. And just going through those cutscenes, they're like, I feel like those cutscenes took like 45 minutes, but the fact that they were long. Yeah, they walk you through that and don't rush them and put the weight into all of that is like, I thought that was fucking spectacular. Like there hasn't been a point yet in the game where they go into politics that in depth. So yeah.
I mean, I think.
Damn. Yeah. True.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I felt the patches after, so 3.1 to like 3.55, were much stronger. No, not 3, 4. Sorry, 4. basically, the original like Stormblood expansion I felt was very lackluster, but it did build upon Lyse and Lyse. And like I think, okay, I'm gonna say it. I like Lyse. I like Lyse more than Alphina. Just gonna say it.
Ooh, okay, that's a hot take.
I know.
Yeah, dude, that's a bit of a stretch.
Shut the fuck up. This is my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it. But like seeing her in Stormblood, when you go to the Ruby Sea, when it's just the warriors like Lyse and Lyse. And like Lyse really shines there. Like she's not just Alphina's twin. She's by herself.
Mm.
And then like so she is like the point. She's the one who takes charge there. And like something that springs out to me is when you're in the Ruby Sea and you go to that like what is it, that little pirate haven or something like that. And then Lyse is like, okay, we need to talk to these people because we need their help. So you talk to like the pirate leader or whatever it is, or like the samurai leader, and she's like, all right, we're gonna get this stuff for you so you can we need your help. So we're going to do this for you. And she's like, I hate politics, but this is what I've got to do now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
It's that growth.
It's that growth.
That
and
good character growth.
That good character growth. And like with the well, what do you think? Because with Heavensward, we had Count Fortin as the narrator, but with the Stormblood, it's Lyse. And really, I feel like in A Realm Reborn and Heavensward, like they just didn't know what to do with Lyse. Oh, sorry, either. They were like, all right, this is something we haven't really done anything with. How do we give this character a purpose?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, dude, I don't know. I feel like that was one of the weakest points of Stormblood when I was playing through it. Oh, hang on, I gotta sneeze. No, never mind. Okay, I guess I don't.
Do it in your mouth.
Anyway, yeah. So like just like one of the weakest points while going through Stormblood was Lyse. You know what I mean? Because like the whole time you're like sort of like meeting like people that were from Alamigo, and they have like this like dark tan skin. They're tall, they're muscular. You know what I mean? They're like they're people
from Alamigo.
that are
Why
from the
are you
Highland,
white?
right? Yeah, right. She's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, freaking pale, pasty, white-skinned chick, and I'm just like, man, that is okay, I guess. and then like the whole time, right? It's like she okay, so I understand now in retrospect, like her journey and like her character arc and everything, and like I like it now. But like when I was going through it, it was like man, like this chick, like she's basically a child. I mean, like not like a child, but like she has like this sort of like the best way to solve things is to just fucking beat things up mentality, and like she's asking questions, like about things of her homeland, right? And it's just like what? Like wait, like didn't you like used to live here? Like don't you know about all this stuff? And like when she's trying to sort of like God, like what is it? When she's trying to sort of like convince the people to like join like the rebellion, like it's your character that has to tell her to like calm down, to like take a breather, right? And it's like what? Yeah. Like, why do I need to do this? Like, why do I need to do this? Like I'm the one that's like actually setting up the rebellion. My character is the one that's setting up the rebellion and like doing all this stuff. And this Lyse chick, she's just like tagging along because like she feels like she owes it to the people. But it's like, bitch, you've been wearing a mask for like the last 2 expansions, bro. Like, just like sit back and let me, the Warrior of Light, do what I do best. You know what I mean? Save the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah, for me personally, that reveal at the end of Lyse's reveal that she's not actually Ida, that was just like, I feel that reveal would have been more powerful if we actually knew who Ida was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like she's like, oh, I've been living a lie, I'm actually Lyse, and it's just like, like, cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think like as a metaphor, like she's like her taking off the mask and like she's stopped running, like she's going to like live her own life now. Like that's in itself is like a good metaphor. It's powerful, but then like to me, the character, the warrior of light, is kind of like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the characters just in general for Stormblood weren't as strong, I feel like, as in Heavensward. But as like I said, as the story goes on and they become a part of the grander plot, the grander narrative and everything, then like I feel like they do start to shine a little bit more. Like even Hien for me, like his reveal of him just like hanging out over in the Azim Steppe.
The Azim Steppe, yeah.
He wasn't hurt or anything. He wasn't like enslaved or anything. He's just fucking chilling. Like okay, like you've been gone forever, sure. And I don't know. It was like all of it was a little bit flat for me. And
I think definitely that section, like going into Yansha, trying to just that whole bit. Like I've talked to Chichen about this, how like this whole area, like Yansha is supposed to be China, but like Doma is like a Japanese coded city-state, and you're putting the Japanese city-state back into power into a Chinese coded continent, and it's just kind of like from a lens, but like, this is a Japanese game written by Japanese people, and previously Japan was an empire, and so that is what the Japanese empire did way back at the beginning of the 20th century. So it's kind of like, that kind of doesn't sound right.
Hey, sheesh.
Yeah. All those historical implications, yeah. It's like, oof.
Yikes. Yeah, but for me, I don't know. I liked Hien's reveal only just because it was sort of like it sort of gave the impression that like he was waiting for like the right time, right? And like a whole like philosophy that like was sort of like behind like the samurais is like the idea of like waiting for like the perfect moment to like strike, sort of thing. And like with us making our way over to, oh god, what the hell was the place? The Azim Steppe or whatever?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with us like going over there and then uniting all of the different devil guys. I forget what their names are.
The Aura.
Yeah.
Devil guy.
Yeah. Like going over there and like uniting it like all together under like on their terms, right? It wasn't like a thing of just like us forcing them into submission to like fight with us. It was us respecting their culture and like going along with their customs, and then like proving ourselves as warriors because that's what they value, right? But like all at the same time, we're helping the mole, or wait, are they called the mole? The peaceful sort of like farmer people.
I think so. The mole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And like, but the whole time we're like fighting for the side of the mole, who are like this peaceful farmer people that have never won like their place before, right? And like, I don't know. I feel like the metaphor within that like proved to Hien that like we're able to like come from a distant land all the way on the other side of the world to fight for freedom the way that they want to. And like Hien can't do it by himself. He can't obviously defeat Garlemald by himself. And like that whole like journey in the Azim Steppe, even though it was an absolute fucking grind and like slog, right? Especially getting the fucking Eighth Occurrence. Fuck that shit, by the way. That was the worst. but yeah, like doing that, it's only something that you realize in retrospect. It's like one of those things that, like, when you sit back and you think about it, it's just like, oh shit, that's what that means. But then again, that could just be, you know, my my narrative analytical brain sort of like looking into it too much, and I'm being too critical of like a story. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense, and that really puts another like spin on it that I really didn't really consider before. Because yeah, for me, going through the Azim step was like, bro, we got to go. Like we can't be fucking around right now. Like yeah, we got stuff to do. We can't be playing around in this, you know, this war game right now. Even though I honestly thought that war game with Triumph. Okay, first of all, Triumph, the battle theme, the boss battle theme for Stormblood is fucking, oh my, it's so good. Like I don't know, for me, I think it's one of the better pieces of score in the entire game. Like it embodies like fighting in Stormblood. It's so fucking good. But like yeah, going through that thing was like awesome, I felt, and like pretty fucking cool. But like this, like the reasons around it, for me at the time especially, it was just like, ah man, like can we afford to be fucking around right now? Like
yeah. And that's like the same like feeling that I got when going through Shadowbringers, right? It was just like, yo, like my friends are like dying every second. Like, can we hurry it the fuck up? Like, do I really have to like, you know, go around and talk to these fucking, you know, tree people in the Rakiki Greatwood or the fuck? Like, yo, like I don't really give a fuck about your guys' disgusting stuff. Like, we're the Scions, all right? I got a world to save here. But yeah, no,
it's like all right.
Yeah. It all makes sense in the end, which I think is like, yeah, that's the best part. Literally, like the name of the game is it all makes sense in the end, because even when we were talking about going through like the slog of Shadowbringers and then hitting the highs at the end, like an analogy I can think of it is like, as you go through Shadowbringers and they're setting up the world and they're setting up all that foundation for you to feel comfortable, right? It's like somebody holding your hand, like pointing out the sights, right? And then at the end there's like a door, and then you open the door, and then it's what it all means. Like past that threshold is like the answer of what it all means, and then it's up to you to go through that and then just fucking experience, as opposed to being led through this slog. And it's oh man, like I said, it's like being pushed off that cliff of just like, all right, I hope your heart is ready, have fun, and then like boom. So
sheesh.
Fucking big sheesh.
But yeah, no, I want to also sort of like build off what you said about the score Triumph, dude. Yeah. Holy shit. Like like in tandem with that, just like the dungeons and the trials itself in Stormblood, like by far the most like the most fun content, right? Like at least in my personal opinion, I feel like Stormblood had the best dungeons, it had the best trials, it had like the most fun content to play mechanically. But like when it comes to the story, especially when you're like experiencing it the first time, pretty weak, pretty mid.
it different.
Like one trial that really stands out to me is the Susano.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like mechanically as DPS, as tank, as healer, it's like, oh, there's a lot of shit to fucking consider right now. And then there's 3 phases to the boss, and on the OST there are 3 different tracks for it, and it's just like, shit, this is like when you're listening to it, it's like, you know, it just, the music increases in intensity per phase, and it's just like
yeah. I think in Stormblood is when they really first like started developing like mechanics for individual roles, like pointing out like the Susano thing. That's the fight, right, where the main tank has to sit underneath the sword and you have to like, like that as like an opening trial is so fucking cool. Because like imagine the expansion just drops, right? You don't know what the fuck you're doing, and then it gets to this part where he like draws back and lifts his sword, and there's like a little marker, and you don't know who's supposed to go there. So the tank is like, I guess it's me, and he fucking drops his sword on you, and it's like, oh fucking shit, dude, that would be intense. Like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I think it's like someone was saying to me like in a dungeon, saying that, oh yeah, Stormblood is actually when they had like a budget to do all this stuff, and like it shows. Like, you know, Heavensward is good, but like a lot of nothing really in the dungeons, nothing really stands out to me quite so much, unless yeah, but then like definitely in Stormblood, and then definitely in Shadowbringers, when in Shadowbringers there are so many mechanics because you are such a high level, and you have to like consider so many different things when you're doing DPS and dodging AoE and healing and then doing tank shit at the same time. So it's like, yeah, they really have money now. Like this game, this RPG, this MMO has been going on for like ages, and it's just like, oh, finally they have money.
Yeah, that's the good shit. Yeah, when you have like your whole kit available to you also in those higher levels, and then you have to like leave everything as well as pay attention to your positioning, and then like make sure you are doing your job. Like, oh man, that shit gets me going. Yeah, and you have a fucking amazing OST playing in the back. It's like,
oh god, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, no, I especially feel like the higher level you get and like the more abilities you have, like the harder the gameplay gets, because like not only are you sort of like weaving in and out of like your core rotation, but like you also have to plan out when you use like your OGCDs, your off global cooldown sort of abilities, and then the timing when you use like your group wide buffs or your raid wide buffs stuff, and then yeah, like just as you said, it's like learning the positioning of the fight and like where you need to be, because sometimes it's like class specific. Like sometimes healers have to be in a specific spot, DPS have to be in a specific spot, tanks have to be in a specific spot, especially like just like with that Susanoo fight, right? Like the main tank has to be like in a specific spot, otherwise fucking raid wipe, just like boom. Like, whoa, oh, okay, I guess that happened.
Which is awesome. I think it's like awesome because like it puts a little more like urgency to the fight. Yeah, of course, if you're just trying to leisurely go through it, it can be stressful, but at the same time, like knowing that the game is putting like those like stops in the mechanics as well, not just through like a narrative like storytelling thing, but through the actual fights and the battles where you're using your hands and your mind to like react to things. I thought that I just think that's like it's really cool.
Good gameplay.
Good fucking gameplay. Like, oh man, like some fights I still don't understand. Like I still don't know the actual mechanics you're supposed to do when you fight Shinra or the big dragon at the end of Stormblood, and he breaks everything. Like there's there's like shit I don't understand. I'm just like my machinist, so I don't have to worry about positionals. I'm just running around going with everyone else, dude. Like
brain dead class, dude.
Basically, yeah.
I just remember when I fucking like walked off the edge for no reason. I was just like, oh.
I know, it's like oh, gotta pay attention, I guess. Like, yeah.
Sheesh.
I mean, overall, man. Like, good game.
Yeah, dude.
GG.
Okay. So, here's like my final question, because I'm starting to feel the fever coming back.
Oh, no.
It's like midnight over here.
What is just as the title says in our video, what makes the game good to you guys? What makes it good? Closing it off.
KB, as our guest, would you like to go first?
I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, what was it Chitin asked me at the beginning, like, what drew me to Final Fantasy XIV in the beginning? And I said, 1, story, and 2, a way to stay connected with people like Chitin and Moshi. And so, the same answer, like, the story, like, I want to know what happens next. And, I like playing with you two and, like, other people. And then, like, yeah, that's what's keeping me going. And that's what makes Final Fantasy XIV good for me. And also, I think now, when I started, I was just like, I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just, like, doing my DPS stuff. And now I'm, like, more confident. Like, oh, yeah, I can heal things. Like, I don't have healer anxiety. And I'm like, yeah, I want to try tanking now. So, like, I think definitely exploring each job. Not each job, but every role. And, like, seeing how it is different, how it works, how, what do I do in each dungeon if I'm doing this role, or like trying to like juggle different things with party composition. So I guess curiosity about how game mechanic works.
Yeah. that's actually a really good one. Oh man, we didn't even discuss like the fact of all the different roles you could take on, because KB and I have been jumping into like crafting and gathering in the game,
Oh,
and
God,
I'm fucking
mad about
addicted,
it.
bro. Like, oh, dude, I love it, dude. I got botanist and culinarian to 80 in like 2 days, just because, like, man, dude, it's like it's a whole
Dang, dude.
another side of the game that you don't even think about exploring if you're used to regular MMOs, where it's all, like I said before, all things are about power, but like, damn, this shit is fun. Like, it doesn't feel like a side thing. It feels like its own, I don't know, its own like main focus. But anyways.
It's like a different section of the game that you didn't even consider, and it's just like it's a whole new world to open up.
Well, I mean, we could have that discussion for another day. But what makes Final Fantasy good to you, Chichin?
Yeah, for me, it's what's the actual word escapes me, but personality. Like, not personality in the sense of like who you are. Well, kind of, but in the fact of like the game makes it personal. There you go. The game is personal. It's not, I mentioned this before, you're not like a cog in the machine. You're not just some random hero or adventurer thrust in this other grand narrative. This is your story. And the fact that it does that, and it's structured in that way, makes it so that you could feel the things that you feel at the certain story beats and everything. Because all of it culminates into, this is about you, for you, and have fun, living your little fantasy life, your Final Fantasy, as it were. And I feel like,
get out.
Literally, that for me, that's what makes it good. Like, there's, yeah.
Sheesh. Yeah, dude. Well said. Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
then
now I feel kind of sheepish because I gotta answer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. So
Yeah, I know.
The question on you, Moshi. What
makes it good for me? Sheesh. Dude, like a good story, dude. Honestly, just a good fucking story, because I don't get that very often anymore. And just like you said, like it's a story made for you, built for you, and it's about you, and that's fucking cool to me. Also, it's evocative, guys. So I'm playing. Okay.
Evocative. God damn.
Holy shit! But I gotta go.
He's dying.
All right. Yeah. All right. You take care of your kindness. Yeah.
Get a good rest.
My final parting words are: don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. My name is HangBrosVT. It really helps us out here at HangBrosVT. Thanks again. I'll see if I get back on my regularly scheduled programming next week. See if I can start streaming for you guys.
Hey.
As it is right now, I don't know about that one. So, thanks, guys. See ya.
Johnny.
Bye.
I'm gonna put out Moshi. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna end it here. But KB, would you like any final words, really quick, for our lovely viewers?
Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. We have a she shirt in the works, and
God,
all the money is going to go to curing Moshi of coronavirus.
Please
help us out.
There you go. You heard it here first. Apparently, someone's making a she shirt. Yeah, this has been HangBrosVT Talks, hanging out with our special guest, KB, and thank you, Moshi, for coming out, even though you're all super sick and everything. So yeah, maybe we can have you on next time when we talk about Final Fantasy again. But yeah, it was been great. Thank you very much, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Back to my room. Yes. So yeah, that was just a small little discussion about some of the aspects of Final Fantasy XIV. As I said before, the three of us, well, especially me and Moshi, but the three of us together, because we all play together, we can go on and on and on and on about things that make this game great. But as the title said, yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint one specific thing that makes the game so good, because it's all, I know it's a cop-out, but it's the culmination of all the little things put together that make this game so good, especially in comparison to some other MMOs. Everyone here knows our feelings about WoW already, but yeah, it's an excellent game. The free trial goes all the way up through the end of Heavensward. which is the first expansion. So all that stuff we were talking about with those characters dying and the music and the grand opening and the epicness and the being evocative, all of that you can experience yourself for free, for absolutely free. The only things you can't do are some little tiny things that have no like bearing on the actual gameplay. So if you find yourself in need of like burning 20 out, oh man, actually it's quite a ride. Like you could spend as much time as you want and still not be able to touch everything. But like if you got some extra time, or you feel like you want to feel some feels, and pick up Final Fantasy XIV. Do the free trial. Just experience it for a little bit and stick with like the parts that seem really, I don't want to say bad, but they're not as good in ARR. The end of ARR, we didn't even talk about that, is actually really good. The end of ARR before going into Heavensward, that's another one of my personal favorites of the actual story. But like, I don't know, it's not like it's difficult or anything, but take your time and do the game as an experience, as opposed to playing it for systems or mechanics or things like that, because that, I feel like that is the best way to try to go about it. So yeah, that's my plug. I'm not sponsored by Final Fantasy or anything, but the game is just so good that like you can't help but talk about it. And I mean, there's a new expansion coming out later this year, so if you're gonna start, now would be the time. That way you can take your time and experience all the prior 3 expansions before Endwalker drops, because man, when Endwalker drops, that's when things are going to the moon. We're going to the moon, dude. Diamond Hands, Endwalker to the moon, dude. That's what I'm saying. That you heard it here first. Diamond Hands. But yeah, there it is. Final Fantasy XIV HBVT talks. Until next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As the other two said, if you want to support us, I mean, just like, comment, subscribe, you know, the basic YouTube stuff. We don't have anything special. I don't actually think there's going to be a Sheesh shirt, but you never know. And yeah, that's a minute. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Johnny!